The report from special counsel John Durham has now been released, confirming what anyone with eyes to see already knew. The justice system in the United States is rotten to its core. The report documents the corruption that rests at the heart of critical federal agencies like the FBI and their willingness to interfere with elections by attacking political enemies. According to the report, the FBI was fully aware that the Russian collusion narrative was manufactured and advanced by the Hillary Clinton campaign in an attempt to smear the opposing presidential candidate, Donald Trump. Under the leadership of Barack Obama and then Vice President Joe Biden, the FBI and DOJ actively participated in a conspiracy to surveil a rival political candidate and conduct an investigation that would impact the election. The origin of the Russian collusion narrative was known. The motivation of the parties involved was known, but the FBI pushed on anyway for one obvious reason: they wanted to hurt Donald Trump. The most shocking part of the report should be its conclusion that no major charges are warranted against those who knowingly participated in this wildly corrupt endeavor. But sadly, this isn't shocking at all. Federal law enforcement and the wider American security state have been completely politicized. These agencies are de facto arms of the Democratic Party, and no one expects to be held accountable. Durham's 305-page report shows that the FBI was well aware of the inadequate nature of the information it was using to justify its investigation, and of the fact that the investigation worked to further the Clinton campaign's goal of using the Russian collusion narrative to distract and mislead the public. CIA Director John Brennan briefed Obama, Biden, and several top administration officials, including the Attorney General and the FBI Director, as to the origin of the Russian collusion narrative. Despite knowing that this narrative was concocted by the Clinton campaign for their political benefit, or more likely because of that fact, all parties involved chose to move forward without hesitation. Usually, a law enforcement agency seeking to maintain its reputation as a neutral entity would tread rather lightly when considering an investigation that could directly impact the outcome of an election. But in this case, the lack of substantial evidence and the political nature of the narrative's origin didn't seem to warrant even a light tapping of the brakes. Apparently, the FBI only decided to end the investigation because one of their longtime confidential informants made a possibly illegal financial contribution to the Clinton campaign on behalf of a foreign entity. Far from holding the Obama White House, DOJ, FBI, or CIA accountable for their naked partisanship and intentional election interference, the media dutifully aided in the effort to discredit Trump as if it had been paid handsomely by the Clinton campaign itself. I'm not, of course, suggesting that Hillary Clinton compensated the media for their role, because the media was more than happy to do it for free. Outlets like CNN and MSNBC hate America, see conservatives as a roadblock to a glorious social revolution, and despise Trump on a level that can scarcely be put into words. Anchors and pundits leapt into the fray with reckless abandon, consuming and creating increasingly absurd fictions about Trump's scandalous relationship with the Russian government at every opportunity. The very idea that the Fourth Estate would hold the formal government accountable really does seem quaint in retrospect. The Russian collusion narrative would continue to haunt Trump throughout his presidency, derailing the administration and making it difficult to advance a significant portion of his agenda. Democrat politicians and the media were able to hijack the term of a duly elected president because the FBI lent credibility to a narrative generated by the Clinton campaign for its own political benefit. Trump advisors like Carter Page and George Papadopoulos had their reputations destroyed while they were portrayed as traitors and forced to spend an egregious amount of time and money in the face of a politically motivated witch hunt. Trump supporters have always felt like they were robbed of a presidency, and they were right. Donald Trump was undermined by the deep state at every step of his presidency, in many cases by people who knew that they were peddling a political narrative with no substantial evidence. While all of this is deeply disturbing, the most concerning aspect of these revelations is how little is expected to come from them. New bombshells drop regularly about the corruption surrounding Hunter Biden, the DOJ, the FBI, the IRS, and the Clinton industrial complex, yet nothing ever seems to come of them. Despite open evidence of wrongdoing, deeply disturbing instances of political bias, and brazen violations of the law, no consequences seem to follow for those who operate the progressive administrative state. Many are now asserting that the Durham report is damning and will deeply damage the reputation of the FBI. Jake Tapper of CNN was even forced to admit that the report looked very bad for the agency while mostly exonerating Trump. While the FBI might feign contrition for a moment, it seems very unlikely that any lesson of significance will have been learned. Despite repeated damage to its reputation due to naked political action, the agency hasn't hesitated to arrest pro-lifers, target traditional Catholic masses for surveillance, and threaten parents who protested the indoctrination of their children at school board meetings. The FBI also enthusiastically raided the home of Donald Trump, the primary political opponent of their current boss, right before a midterm election. They did so while alleging that Trump possessed dangerous classified documents, possibly pertaining to nuclear secrets. Amazingly, nothing was ever heard about these documents again after the election. Apparently, the real purpose of the raid had already been achieved. Sure, that's some kind of ridiculous banana republic nonsense, but that's the world you live in now. This is how the country operates. Let's be really frank. The FBI is a dangerously compromised organization which now exists to punish the enemies of the progressive movement. At some level, the left understands that they've expended the credibility of America's institutions and shattered the illusion of neutrality. That's why progressives have focused a lot of energy on purging the military and consolidating their hold on agencies like the FBI, CIA, and IRS. The ability of the left to use soft power and propaganda to reliably engineer their desired electoral outcome is waning, and the shock that someone like Donald Trump was able to make it through the mechanisms of control jolted the deep state into action. Some conservatives have started to notice this very disturbing development and are calling for a complete dismantling of the FBI. Establishment Republicans will say that this is hyperbolic, but it's important to understand what's at stake here. The US security apparatus now regularly interferes with elections and does so without shame or hesitation. If the next Republican president doesn't clear out the deep state root and branch, he's likely to be the last Republican to ever have that option. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to do so. If you'd like to get these broadcasts as podcasts, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the Auron McIntyre Show on your favorite podcast platform. And when you do, make sure you leave that rating or review. That really helps with all the algorithm magic. If you'd like to follow me on Substack or Twitter or Gab, if you'd like to watch these episodes on Rumble or Odyssey, the links to do all of that are down below in the description. And of course, you can read all of my columns and watch all of my shows over at The Blaze. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, I'll talk to you next time.